Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Misery by Stephen King. I have been trying to read Stephen King for about a year now, and last year I picked up the book The Gunslinger as my first Stephen King book, and everybody said, "What are you doing? Why are you reading that?" I was like, "Because it's the first in his series." Why you start with the first in the series? Anyway, apparently that was wrong, but did not like this book at all. Did not like it at all, and it was just really frustrating. And people were like, it's his fantasy series, really? So I just didn't care for the book. And then I thought, well, what's like the book that everybody lauds? Everybody loves this book. I see all the love on BookTube, and people say it's one of their favorites, and I also saw a cheap version of it at the store, and of course, everybody knows the story from like the movies and stuff, which I haven't watched the movies, but I've watched the trailers and know the general idea of them, which is Stephen King's It. And I picked this up, and I was like, it's 1,000 pages, but maybe it'll be enjoyable. Then it wasn't enjoyable. And I was like, come on. And I was like, you have a killer clown who goes around trying to murder preteens. Like, this should be an awesome premise. And it just wasn't. It just didn't enjoy it. So I was really starting to get down in the dumps, and I was afraid I wouldn't find a Stephen King book I would that I would enjoy. I was afraid that I was doomed to forever dislike Stephen King as an author. And at my local bookstore, I saw the book Misery, and I looked at the premise of the book and said, it's a really short book. It's like 300 pages, and also the premise really intrigues me. It's about a writer who gets captured by this woman after an accident, and she is his nurse, but she ends up holding him hostage because she wants him to write a book specifically for her. And I was like, okay, that seems like an interesting premise. And then my friend Caleb from Caleb Likes Books found a used copy at his bookstore, and we both said, all right, we got our books, let's read it in October for spooky season. So we said we would buddy read it. And I decided to start reading the book, and lo and behold, third time's the charm, Stephen King, because I really enjoyed this book. I had a blast reading this book, and I'm so glad I found a Stephen King book I enjoyed. So, what I enjoyed about this book was the kind of discussion about an author and an author's psyche and the plight of being an author. There's discussion about how he just wants to write these kind of award-winning books, but he's forced to write these bestsellers because that's what makes the money, and he also is forced to write the bestsellers because that's what his audience wants, and he gets a lot of hate mail, and so there's some great discussions about being an author. There's also some great discussions about being a fan and when fandom can go too far. And of course, Annie Wilkes is the most extreme potential example. And there are times that I claim that I might be an author's #1 fan, but I would never hope to be their #1 fan like Annie Wilkes does in this book. And she is horrifying and makes me think maybe I should be a little bit more hands-off with the authors. Maybe I shouldn't be so excited to be around them. Maybe I should give them some more space. Anyway, and so the whole scenes of Annie and Paul talking in the room and her going crazy and him being afraid of her but also trying to fight back and also trying to escape and also trying to figure stuff out. It's a very, very tight story. There's not a lot of other characters. A few characters show up now and then, but like this is apparently a stage play as well. It works. It could work really well as a stage play, and apparently people really like the movie as well. I could see it being a very cheap, inexpensive movie to make because you really just need a set of a house, really just one room in the house, really, and then you need 2 actors to be in it. So I really enjoyed that. I actually really enjoyed the climax of the book. I really enjoyed trying to see what would happen. I did not know whether Paul would escape alive, whether he would be killed by Annie, whether he would take down Annie but not be able to leave the room and so they'd both die. I did not know how it would end, and so I thought it was just the tension was written really well. I also thought that the whole time that he's, trying to combine the ideals of writing a fake book and then writing a fake book inside a fake book just was really interesting to me. And then kind of the meta discussions that, Stephen King himself is an author and people liked some of his books better than his other books, and how Annie Wilkes could be a metaphor for certain elements and the kind of drugs or metaphors for other drugs, and how, there's some great ideas in the book. That said, there were a few things I disliked. I did not care for any of the moments where it was written inside the fake book, Misery's Return, where you're like reading the book that Paul's writing himself. I didn't need that. I didn't really care about that. I was here to read about him being tortured by this woman. I was not here to read this Harlequin story about Misery returning after being dead in Misery's Child, and I didn't need that part of it. So the whole anytime you're reading the book, whenever you get to any of the typewritten stuff, I just didn't care. I tried, but I just didn't care about the typewritten stuff, and that was a surprising amount of the book. It may be 5 or 10% of the book, so it's not huge, but it is a portion of the book I did not enjoy. So I'm being transparent about it. But as I was saying, as a whole, this is such an enjoyable book. This is such a fun thriller. There's nothing really supernatural. Oh, well, I should say, the main character, his psyche thinks that there's something supernatural here. But in reality, there's nothing supernatural about this thriller. It's totally plausible, all of it. And I kind of liked it. I really liked that I was like, there was this terror of this woman holding him captive. This is something that could totally happen. And also like the question of, will the police ever find his car? Will they ever find him? Will she kill anybody else? Has she killed anybody else? There's just so many great elements to this book that were just so much fun to read. And so overall, if you exclude the stuff that was the typewritten stuff from the typewriter, if you exclude that stuff, I thought it was a delightful book. I thought it was a great thriller, a great spooky season read, which this is about as spooky as I want my spooky season to be, so you know how spooky I want my spooky season. But I had just such a blast reading this book, and it propels me because I finally found a Stephen King book I've enjoyed. Ergo, there probably are more, since he's written so many and so many varieties. There's probably more books of his that I will enjoy. If I had disliked this book, I was close to saying, you know what, I'm just going to write him off, never read another Stephen King book. He's just not for me. Usually by the third book of an author from a different genre or subgenre, if I still don't like it, it's just that author just doesn't click with me. But I found something that clicked with me, so I'm super happy. So I'm going to give the book an 8. Which sounds kind of low, but I'm telling you, the Misery's Child, Misery's Return, typewritten stuff didn't work for me. But still, as a whole, I'm just so happy that I found a Stephen King book that I enjoyed. So if you've read Misery, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And what are your recommendations? I may take them, may not. We'll see when I get to my next Stephen King. But hey, I found one I enjoyed. Until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.